Why do some entrepreneurs scale to multi-millions while others stay stuck at the same revenue year after year? Today, you're getting the answer and the exact tools you need to grow not just your profit, but also the fulfillment in your life. I'm Tamar Hermes, and this is the Women Growing Wealth podcast. Today, I'm talking to Dena Patton, a woman who had a stroke at the age of 28 years old that nearly killed her, then turned that rock bottom moment into a 25-year coaching empire. She's worked with thousands of CEOs and entrepreneurs, coaching clients from startup founders all the way to business owners stuck at over $50 million. She's a sought-after international speaker on sales and mindset, author of The Greatness Game, and founder of Girls Rule Foundation, where she spent 14 years teaching financial literacy and leadership to thousands of teenage girls across the country. Today, Dena will show you the exact exercise that reveals why you keep hitting the same revenue ceiling, how to identify the smallness narratives sabotaging your wealth, and why the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't about strategy. It's about the invisible beliefs you inherited about money. If you're done working harder and harder and ready for your next breakthrough, this is your episode. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of the Women Growing Wealth podcast. As you know, we're here to help women grow wealth. And one of the main ways that we do that is with mindset. And that's one of the reasons that I invited my dear friend, Dena Patton, here with me today, because she is a master of mindset. And I know a lot of people teach mindset, they share mindset, but Dena has been doing this and living this, and the wisdom that you're going to get and the tools you're going to get today are going to change the trajectory of the way that you live, the way you grow wealth. No tall order. Welcome, Dena.
Thank you. Thanks for that intro. You're awesome.
Miracles are going to happen here.
Right.
You know, you talk about you were broke you were broke and you had a stroke at 28 years old. And then you build this multi-purpose driven global business, and you have several businesses, which we'll get into. But how did you do it, and where do we start?
Oh gosh. I love that you said broke and stroke.
Broke and
Yes,
stroke, baby.
right. Your first business, you kind of struggle. You're trying to figure it all out, and you have to know better, do better, and fail forward, and all those things. And it's so frustrating. But my first business was a PR marketing agency in New York City in my 20s. And I drove myself into the ground. I really built a company that was killing me. And at right when I was turning 28, I had a minor stroke that just put me on my knees. And, those kind of situations in our life are going to make you either bitter or better. And I was like, there's no way that this is going to bury me. I need to learn my lessons, and I've got to grow from this. And so for me, the foundation of this business came from a lot of mistakes in the first business. How I managed money, how I did my sales, systems, team, like all the things about business and wealth. I just was flailing at, but I ended up selling that business, starting this business in 2001. And really the foundation, what I learned was putting me and God in the middle and then building a business from there. Because what happens is we forget about ourselves and that self-care and that mindset. And what happens is we build a business that's thriving, but's killing us. So I just took that as like my main lesson from the company number one. And I was like, okay, my mind, body, spirit in the middle, staying fueled, staying strong. And then we're going to build a business from there. And then I learned year 5, really the power of mindset. And that is when we look around success, Two people can go to the same school, two people can be raised by the same people, right? The same parents, but yet one's successful and one's not. It's mindset. It's all about mindset. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So that's once I got on that and started researching mindset and what people are doing to master the mindset, my life changed. I integrated it into my coaching, and here we are 25 years later.
I love that. I love that. You talk about with financial strategy, you really say it's about healing your relationship with your own value and
Mm,
learning to sell your service without shame. And these are, we're talking about not just the people that you are coaching and servicing are already financially very well off. And we're talking in the multi millions, money that we'll probably never see in our life. But we get to this point where if we're not building from within, and I love this concept that you're talking about, that there's something missing, right?
yeah.
And so I would love for you to share where how do we start to break out, like when we're at that point? A lot of us get into years and years and years of building business and just going for more, but yet just feeling stuck. And I love the way you said you put yourself and God first. How do we start to do that for ourselves and get to that awareness?
Yeah. Well, you're touching on really our relationship with money, right? And which in there is our value, right? They can be collapsed. And if they're both weak or challenged, you're going to have a hard time in your business. You're going to struggle or you're going to sabotage all those things. So we have to understand our value and we have to understand our relationship to money. And here's the thing, I've coached people who are stuck at 10 million. Like they can't get their business off 10 million. It might be 50 million. Everybody has a limit, right? Because new level, new devil. Like we conquer all these devils, all these little challenges in our life, in our business, and our money. But then there's the one that stops us, the one that says, no, you're not going past this. And then you just spend years, pushing that. And so it doesn't matter. Maybe your number right now is 100,000, or you're trying, for 3 years, you're trying to get your business to that $1 million mark. Here's the thing. You've got to look at your mindset. You've got to look at what your relationship to your value and self-esteem is. And then you've got to understand your relationship with money. Is it healthy? Do you love money? Money is of course, we always say money is not the answer to all happiness, but yet here's the thing, if you're not building your sales, you're building a hobby, right? And so we've got to really shift our mindset and say sales is the heartbeat of our business, right? Let's do well so we can do good. Philanthropy is a big part of my life and my business, and a lot of small businesses love doing that cause or that philanthropy, that charity. But if we're struggling and we can't even make payroll, there's no way we're going to be in abundance and generosity, right? So let's look at our own value and our own self-esteem. That work is so important as you grow as a leader and a business owner, especially around money, because right? People
I
sabotage.
know. Oh God, I know. I still get triggered. I
Yeah.
know.
So there's certain amounts that you just go, oh, and then here's the beautiful part of that. There's your limit. We're always shown our limits, and it's your opportunity to break through that or be stopped by that. And when you have that mindset of like, I'm going to break through this, I'm going to figure this out, versus, oh, this is hard, I'm not going to go past this, right? So I call that smallness versus greatness. The greatness, we're all born with greatness, we're all born with smallness mindsets, but the smallness is dedicated, committed to keeping us in comfort. Nothing scary, emotionally scary, financially scary. Get in the box, the house of comfort. And greatness is there to help us push through our life and become our best version and truest version of ourselves. And it's really up to you which one you're listening to on a daily basis. So do the self-esteem work, do the mindset work, start listening to the greatness, not the smallness, and then really examine your own relationship with money. We all had parents or guardians who raised us, and their outer voice becomes our inner voice. So if they said things like, "We can't afford that," "Are you crazy? We don't have money for that," that becomes your narrative. So you become a young adult at 18, 19 with these narratives that are driving your financial possibilities. And until you look at those and break through those, that's your reality, right? Or the parents that say, money is evil. And then you are an adult that you're trying to build a business, but the narrative in the subconscious is money is evil, right? And so that you're probably not paying yourself. You're not probably building wealth. Maybe you're making money in payroll, but you're not accepting the fruit because that narrative. So those, I know it's a lot, but it is, this is a big topic that doesn't take one day or sometimes 1 month or 1 year, but it is a journey that's really worth it.
Absolutely, in terms of fulfillment, in terms of finding, playing as large as we want in terms of our vision. And what I find is that if I don't open up to my value and what I wanna bring to the world, I can't participate in the way that I wanna participate. It just doesn't allow for me to live the fullest life, and there's something kind of yearning inside that stays, and I see that with clients and with women everywhere, and I love that we're bringing this topic here. Now tell me, if I'm aware, we all are on this journey with our mindset, and I love that you said new level, new devil. I was just at a meeting yesterday, and I love the fact that when I said new level, new devil, they said, "Oh, we're gonna quote you." And I said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 don't quote me. I didn't come up with that." And they said, "Well, the rule of 3 is that if you say it 3 times, then we credit you." And I was like, "Okay." And then here we are, and you're saying new level, new devil.
Yeah. It's part of every speech I give because we have to realize that we are all evolving in our life, our money, our businesses. We're always evolving. And at that next level, there's always a devil a challenge that we've never faced before. And you've got to be ready for it. And if you're not, you're going to get punched back down to that level that you were just coming from. So I think it's really awareness of, okay, I'm going to a new level. There's going to be new little devils, new challenges. I'm ready for it. And you're getting that mindset ready to go to that next level. And it's really, really important.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay, so let's say that I'm listening to this podcast and I'm thinking, yes, I've achieved so much, but I know that there's more and there's something in the way. And you're talking about going in and checking in with yourself. Are there certain tools? Is there a step? Is there something that you've done specifically that I can do? Obviously the listeners will do, where they can actually implement and start unraveling some of the layers of negativity that are there around money, around success.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's an exercise in my book that is really, I have 9 chapters in my book, and one is, 9 areas of our life: marriage, money, entrepreneurship. And I'm so passionate about financial literacy for women and girls because I think it's an area that we're not really well educated around or well raised around. There's just boys get a lot more money teaching and empowerment than girls do. So we have to be intentional with our financial literacy and all the different layers. And I think, again, there's different layers of financial wealth and learning, but that mindset piece is really about finding what your smallness narratives are around money, what your parents say, what your maybe husband says, what maybe you have friends around you. This is a common one that I see a lot. You have a CEO that has a successful business, but her friends are corporate, so she doesn't have a lot of entrepreneur mindset around her. And she's starting to kind of get shamed for that competition, right? Instead of getting that support. to look at the next level because she's talking about her business growth and it's not really landing for them well, right? So your circle matters because their little comments are creating shame, are creating like doubt in yourself. So let's go back to the tools of mindset and self esteem, looking at what's my relationship with money? What is my smallness narrative, which is the negative beliefs, right? Those limiting beliefs about money. And it's a journal exercise. It's let yourself free flow, right? About, here's an exercise. Look at your business. If you're a business owner, I want you to write down this year's revenue. Okay, write that down. And I know we're not at the end of the year, but just project. And then I want you to add a zero at the end of that. How does that feel in your body? Add another zero. How does that feel in your body? Because you're going to have a physical, emotional, mental reaction to that exercise. A lot of people go, whoa, I could never do that. And all of a sudden, your smallness gets activated. I could never do that. There's no way. Oh my gosh, I am going to have to, get investors. Like, I don't, it just all your stuff comes up. So there's an exercise that's just real quick that's going to show you your negativities, your limiting beliefs, what I call your smallness narratives. Because when you know better, you can do better. But if you don't know what your subconscious and your limiting beliefs are feeding you, you're just spinning. You're just really kind of guessing and like hoping. I think that's where I see a lot of women is they're just working harder and just hoping to push through, right? There's power in stopping and actually looking, doing that reflection on what is going on subconsciously. What am I in agreement with that is limiting me to go to that next level? So that's what I would say is really understanding your smallness and getting those limiting beliefs out front so you can look at them and choose differently. It's all about choosing differently.
So I look at $1 million company, I add a zero, all of a sudden I'm at 10 million, and I realize, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? This is impossible. How many people am I going to have to hire? How much money am I going to have to raise? And do I even want this? What will I do with this money? All of the things start coming in. Yet I know that I have a huge desire for legacy. I have a huge desire for philanthropy. I have a huge desire for living very comfortably and having resource. So where do I go from there? I go 1 million and now all of a sudden I'm looking at 10 million. I deal with all the things that come in, all the negativity. And then how do I get past that? Where do I start walking?
Yeah. Such a good question because there is a lot to do, right? And here's the thing, you might not want that million, right? Maybe you're at 1 million and really your truth is 3 million or 5 million. That exercise was just that zero exercise is just to bring up where those smallness narratives are. However, you didn't come this far to come this far. I just I just know we are so made for more and I am so committed to women winning and being I want you to take this business as big as you want it
Mhm.
and getting yourself and your limiting beliefs out of the way so you can do that. So whether that's 1 million to 3 million or 1 million to 10 million, here's a couple things is creating that vision because vision pulls us, right? And purpose pulls us. So here's an exercise is that 10 million. I love that all those things that you just said, right? Living more comfortably. I could create, more philanthropy, legacy, travel, right? I could hire more people. What a blessing to be able to hire people, give people jobs. Job creation comes from us killing it in sales, right? The bigger your business is, the more blessing you can do inside of hiring people and giving people good jobs. Like, what a powerful meaningful thing, right? I was just talking to a client. I have two clients right now who are kind of in this growth mode. One is going from 21 employees to 28 employees, and one's going from 80 employees to about 92 employees. And, when you're in that that time of your life where it's like, oh my gosh, so many systems and team, you forget about gratefulness. You got to stop and say, look at all these amazing people that are working for me. And then I get to give them jobs and put, food on their table. Like it's just such a blessing. And I think we forget to stop and look at the gratefulness of building a team and giving jobs. So that's a big part of it. So I think painting this picture, like really going inside and looking at what does that $10 million vision provide you, right? Let's do well so we can do good. At 10 million, oh my gosh, look at all the good, not only the impact of your business that you're going to do in the world, but then internally, all the jobs you're going to give, and then the philanthropy you can do, and
Mhm.
then your own family and your legacy. Look at 4 points of blessings and gratefulness and amazingness from you going from 1 million to 10 million. So let's paint that picture. Like, let yourself dream, right? What does that $10 million do for all those points in your life? And then that's going to create that like inspiration and that pull. And then you start to, this is where I would say hire a business coach, or you have a COO. This is a conversation about now what? Now I have the clear dream. Now what? What are the two important questions? What's the systems I need to go from 1 million to 10 million? I'm all about systems. And two, what is the team? Right. And we do it year by year. Year one, what are the systems and team? Year two, what are the systems and team? And you have to build that out. And then that's your plan. And then you work your plan. Right.
Yeah,
Let's
I
not
love
be
that.
complicated.
No, I love that. And there's so many things I want to go over that you just shared and to highlight. One is I love the fact that you're talking about two clients right now that are expanding in their business. And this is something that I love to share with all the listeners that wherever we're at, wherever challenges you might be facing, there's so much capacity right now still in this world. I know that we're seeing, on one hand, this disparity between the wealthy and the ones that are more challenged to support in the system and bring value in the system that don't provide as much monetary reward. And yet there is so much that we can still be, that we are creating, that the world is still evolving and it's still a magical place. I wanted to bring that in because it's so important. And when you talk about the dream and the vision from the million to the 10 million, I talk about the enough number that you need to be financially free for life. And the reason that I love that number is because we always are looking at business and our personal as separate. And it's important that we understand that your personal wealth is critical, just like you were talking about paying yourself and including what your legacy is, because your legacy, granted, if you grow a large business and it's cash flowing and you're profiting and then you exit and then there's a lot of profit there, and that usually is your main channel, and yet there is who you are personally. And so knowing that enough number and getting to that also enables you to make decisions maybe about your business growth, maybe about the trajectory of where you want to spend your time philanthropically, maybe in terms of how you want to raise your kids, maybe in terms of anything that you want to invest in, whether or not that investment is aligned with you on the level of risk. These are all things that enough number will give you. So I love that you brought that in. That was another amazing thing that you talked about. And then there was a third point that I wanted to share. I'm looking at my notes because I have written it down because I loved it so much.
Getting to that enough number, right? It's so powerful to know that enough number.
Mhm.
And when you think of that enough number, again, that smallness is like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Oh, that's scary. How do I do that? Right? We go right to how. And that's a woman thing. Like I think men are like, let's go. And women are like, how am I
Mhm.
going to do it? Right. So it's important to, that's why that plan, work your plan. Women do need a plan because the plan creates some confidence and action creates some confidence. So, but I want to say this about getting there is, sales, if you're an entrepreneur, your, like I said, heartbeat of your business and this enough number is going to come from you mastering your sales. And sales are all about serving, it's all about solving. And so I want you to shift the words. I don't really use the word sales, although I mean, I speak on sales all the time, but that's not a word that I use. It's all about service and solving, right? Serve and solve. So, what I'm going to challenge you to do is look at your business and what the problems you're solving, and how can you solve more problems or bigger problems or faster problems. Like, one of the things that I got, like I said, I'm just about to, my business is turning 25, but 9 years ago, I really got this lesson. And I want to say it, especially if you are in a service based business and not product, is you have to understand the tiers of value, right? And I was in a one-on-one model. I worked with one-on-one with CEOs and entrepreneurs, and that was my package. Like, that was it, right? And I didn't really understand the tiers of value, for not for me, for my clients. So there's a lot. My breakthrough was, not everybody wants one-on-one coaching for 3 months, 6 months, a year, right? They want one day, 3 days, right? Like that, they want to solve a problem really fast. Once I got asked for that multiple times, that's where my breakthrough. I was like, oh, oh my gosh, I'm missing that program. So I created my VIP day. I created my 3 day retreat, right? All inclusive. So, but those didn't come from me creating for creating. I created it because I got that it solves a problem for my entrepreneurs, right? So I cannot tell you how many times, hundreds of those two packages since I created them. Now, that was only 9 years ago. Sometimes we look back and we're like, dang it, why didn't I create that 20 years ago? But those are the lessons in business where you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm missing these tiers of value that are, I can charge a lot more because they're more valuable. And that's how I want you to think, is what's one more, just think of one at a time, one more tier of problem solving. It might be faster. So, like that one VIP day, why that sells really well is when you have a huge opportunity in front of you and you need that solved. Like, say you have a pitch to an investor, or you're going to be on Good Morning America, and you don't have a good sales system in place, and you got to have that solved in the next 3 weeks. VIP day. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or a negative situation. You just broke up with your business partner and you're in a total breakdown and you need a plan, right? So that's how I want you to think, is those situations happen to entrepreneurs all the time, but I didn't have a program that solved that served them. So that's how I want you to think. And it got me to my enough number, right? So that's, you can't just have one product or one service. You got to have tiers of value, and your people will pay for it because it's more valuable. And so that's I challenge you to look at your tier, like what products or services you're offering and what they solve, and go bigger in problem solving.
That's great. And you can really do that with a service-based business and even a product-based business, because it
And
could be just
product. Absolutely.
bringing in a different SKU of something. There's all
Mhm.
kinds of options. I love that idea. The other thing that I really love is how not only did you get to your enough number, so you weren't just chasing success for more, more, more. You kind of got clear about, okay, this is my value proposition. These are the things that I'm going to offer. And then there's another piece to my life, which is my building legacy level impact. And I really, this is something that you really are, you walk your talk with this. You have a very successful nonprofit, Girls Rule. You're committed to teaching young girls how to have a financial literacy, how to have self-esteem. You're doing such important work in the world. And I feel that women of capacity, the women that listen to this podcast that are making millions, that are doing really well in their business that and careers and growing and want to have another layer. I would love for you to talk about this, about the difference between the chasing success and building legacy level impact, and how do we start opening up our minds and how much joy there is there for you.
It's such a good people do not talk about this more often, right? And I am the biggest advocate for having, whether it's philanthropy or cause, something purposeful in your business. 25 years I have been making my clients, if they don't already, you've got to choose, you don't have to start your own nonprofit, but you've got to choose some kind of cause that your business champions. And everybody's a little different, right? Them and their employees might give time once a quarter, once a month. They might be giving money. They might be doing a fundraiser for that charity, right? There's all kinds of different reasons or ways, but it changes you and it elevates you when you don't have your eyes just 100% on your business, but do well to do good. And there's something very powerful about choosing that charity that's aligned to your brand and pouring into them. And it just changes your culture because it brings joy, it brings purpose, it brings love, and you're there to give to them. But here's the secret: you get so much, right? You get so much by giving. So I gave, even in my first business, I always chose charities or causes that are circled around women and girls. So I gave, whether it was $100 checks or $500 checks, I did a couple little fundraisers for various charities. And then 14 years ago, I just said, I've got to do something more. And it might have been a naive little thought. Sometimes we jump in and not knowing everything, right? But I did it out of purpose and just drive and a calling to make a difference for girls. Because after coaching thousands of women entrepreneurs and CEOs, I learned that we all have the same story, the story of journey of believing in ourselves and our value and our self-esteem and our confidence and our leadership and our financial literacy. Like, those are the themes that a lot of women in their 30s, 40s, 50s learn. And then they say, God, I wish I knew this at 16. And so I kind of raised my hand and God was like, tap, 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 let's go, let's do something. So I wish I knew what I know now back then, but it's been a journey. So Girls Rule Foundation is something I co-founded 14 years ago, and we do programs for middle school and high school girls. And that's where my free time and money goes. And it's a philanthropy piece that has brought me so much joy and purpose. And a lot of the girls that we helped, 10, 12 years ago, they're now business owners. They're now leaders. They're now moms. I just saw one I see them all the time, right? I just saw one who has 3 daughters, and it's just like, she's extraordinary. And she works in broadcasting. And another one that just got her master's in nursing and is going back and being a teacher at her university. I mean, just so many stories that these girls learned our 3 pillars: the self-esteem, confidence, the financial literacy, and then our 12 leadership principles. So it's been a joy. And I've met so many women just like you along this journey around the country. I always speak about it when I'm out and about, and I meet extraordinary women who are like, I have a passion for girls and women too, right? And then we become this little tribe. So I say, raise your hand in the cause that moves your heart, right? This moved my heart. Go find a cause that really moves your heart and go focus on that.
This is so great. I love the expansion of where we can take our resources and how much impact we can have. And not only you, but so many great leaders, the Dalai Lama, Tony Robbins, they all talk about the gift of life is in giving. And yet we're busy growing our businesses, wanting to make sure that we're hitting our financially free number so we can live in a world that is continually changing and live and take care of our families and live those joys. And maybe we have employees and we got to make payroll and all the things. And what I hear frequently is, I'll give when, I'll give later. I can start this endeavor once I have these many resources. And I was having dinner with a friend just this last week, and she said, "What's your budget for philanthropy?" And another friend actually, shout out to my friend Selena Sue, who wrote Rich Relationships, was in her book saying she actually has a fund just for friendship, just to give to friends. So, where do you stand on this? How do we start reframing the joy that's on the other side of this giving? And how do we know? Because part of it is a knowing that there is more than enough for us. And that when we are women of capacity, when we can solve problems, when we can provide value in the world, we don't need to worry about running out of money. We don't need to worry about if retirement will be okay for us, because we are not going to be in those situations. And yet the fear of the world is just, your parents telling you need a job and, you're going to run out of money. And we see people that run out of money. All we do is see people that run out of money. We don't see the people that don't run out of money. So can you speak to that?
I can so speak to that on so many levels. But here's a quote that's in my book. I found this quote when I was in the middle of writing my book, and it just stopped. It's so simple, but it stopped me in my tracks because I was like, this is it. Like, this is the quote that encompasses all of my work. And it's so simple. It says, a bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not on the branch, but on her own wings. And that is speaking to is the deep trust in ourselves. That when we trust, when I talk about the stroke that I had at 28, I was building that business without trust. It was like a lot of hope, right? And it was just hoping the next client was behind, the next one. And I was saying yes to everyone because I didn't trust there was another client behind him. And there was just a lot of fear, not trust. When you start trusting yourself and trusting your sales system, trusting your team, trusting the solutions you're selling, you go to a whole new level of confidence and greatness. And let me tell you guys, greatness begets greatness, and greatness attracts greatness, right? So it's coming from a place of trust, not like hope, right? So here's the thing that started my philanthropy when I was, I did not have money to give to a charity. Like, it was like, are you crazy? No. But here I stretched myself because I have to walk my talk. It's been integrity is one of my core values. And I was like, listen, if I'm telling everybody else to do philanthropy, and at the time, my philanthropy looked like time, not money. And I was like, it's time to give money. So what I did, small step, is I chose a charity and I wrote $100 check every month. And I was like, this is where I'm going to start. And I'm not going to shame myself. This is a big step, right? So, and this is what you guys don't understand. I still today, I have about 6 donors. That's not a lot, but I have 6 donors who give Girls Rule $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year, right? That those 6 people on a regular, and then I have people that give $500 a month and up. But let me tell you, $100 a month to small nonprofits moves the needle. You don't understand collectively, right? They don't see it as $100. Your $100 is with 10 other people that gave 100 or 20, right? So that's where I started, is a check. But I want you to get where that led to, is that same charity. It was about a year and a half that I was giving that $100. That was a big deal for me. I got more and more comfortable. And when I hit that year mark, I was like, I've been giving for a year, right? And it was a big thing. Then I was like, what else can I do? At the time, I had a database of about 8,000 women. And I was like, I could probably throw a party or an event for them and all the proceeds could go to them. Like I could do that in my sleep, right? I raised $100,000. I want you to get, right? So I went from $100 just to think a little bit bigger, like what else could I do for them? Now that $100,000 wasn't my money, but I raised that. Do you get it? Like it's not always your money. It's a give or it's a get. It's can you get 10 women to come to a dinner party and all of them write $100 check or $500 check and give it to your charity? That's life changing. So, especially in these times, like if you're a small nonprofit, this is what I want you to get. They are struggling financially. This like wonky economy that we're in, people do not give grants. There's not a ton of like check writing. So they depend on smaller donors. So do not think your $50 or your $100 doesn't do anything. It does a lot. And then watch how you grow and they grow and you're going to figure it out. You're going to figure out how that grows as your business grows.
And I love the idea of not only having a pocket for the amount we invest every month for ourselves to make our money grow, but also having a bucket where we are actually giving every month, or we have a budget allocated for the year so that if you come to me, just like happened, I met you at an event and I wrote a check because we're able to do that because we have budgets in place where we can serve and support others that are in need. And it really is something that I think also, like you said, greatness begets greatness. I think giving also begets giving. When we just have that giving heart, it transcends into fruitfulness in the world, and fruitfulness is value, and that also equals money.
Yeah.
So it is that source, that seed that really can grow and support one another and ourselves at the same time.
Yeah. And here's the thing is whether you do it personally, like getting a dinner party together or an event, or your business, people like, you're a go-getter, but be a go-giver, right? People like doing business when they see, oh, $2 a ticket goes to this chosen charity, or oh, 10% goes to your chosen charity, right? One of my clients, Marin Costello, she's a jewelry designer, and her thing is planting trees, and she is really all about environment, and that is her. And so she aligned with this amazing charity where a percentage of every piece of jewelry goes to that. And she has a national, she's a national brand. Her jewelry is in thousands of boutiques. So she started this 10 years ago, small. It might have been 30 trees, 50 trees a year. Now she's in the thousands. And that's the beautiful part about philanthropy is your philanthropy grows at the same time as your business grows. And people like doing business with people who are giving. So, like the event that you were at, we were the chosen charity. And I love being the chosen charity at events or conferences, associations. I mean, that's a big part of how Girls Rule, a lot of women's events choose us. We're actually going to New York City next week for International Day of the Girl. Women's event. We're a chosen charity for that event. And then we're doing some International Day of the Girl events the day before. So it's, you got to raise your hand and say, I'm going to do something. And then you figure it out. You don't have to be perfect, just make some progress.
I love that. Okay, if a woman is listening to this podcast who wants to go from good to great with her resource, with her money, what's the next step she can take after listening to this podcast?
I would say the next step, I mean, for me, what I can give you is the best $10 that you can spend is on my book, The Greatness Game. Go to Amazon and it's going to help shift that mindset, right? And start to pull out the smallness limiting beliefs. But it's going to start to shift you into that greatness mindset, which is going to help you get to that next level and think differently. You're thinking the same, and that thinking won't get you to the big goal. You got to think differently. So my challenge is if you are going to get the book, choose 5 pages that absolutely pull you into greatness, like absolutely inspire you. And those 5 pages become your coaching, become your like, I'm doing these 5 things. So that's the best thing. And then my website, denapatton.com, if I can serve you, hop on a call and let's see if I can help you in any way. So I'm here to, to serve and to solve.
I love that. I'm with you on that. So good. And also Girls Rule. Is that's on the website too? So
Yeah. Girlsrollfoundation.org is our website. And also I'm on Instagram is kind of my fave platform. So Dena Marie Patton is my handle. And then Girls Rule FDN is Girls Rule. So connect there, follow us. Again, we're trying to spread the word about our after school club. If you know middle school or high schoolers who could use a leadership club, it's skill building and resume building, and that's the program that is nationwide. Everything else is here in Arizona. So, yeah, learn about it there. And again, ask any questions and how I can serve you.
I love it. Dena Patton, thank you so much for joining us on Women Growing Wealth. And if you love this episode, which I'm sure you did, please leave me a 5-star review if you're listening. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and follow, because if you subscribe, then you won't miss any of the goodness every week. And this is where you want to be. So we'll see you next week. Thanks, Dena.
Thank you.